nuestro programa donde mostramos las noticias que le interesan al pueblo en esta entrega de Abril llamada Abril insurgente y siempre rebelde en el marco de los hechos históricos del 11, 12 y 13 de abril de 2002. Nos vamos de una al primer reporte en la calle, que es un reporte internacional, que se trata de una marcha realizada por el movimiento Occupy en solidaridad con los presos, con los carcelarios de Estados Unidos, de las prisiones estadounidenses privatizadas y en manos de las transnacionales. Nadie sabe lo peligroso que puede ser esto. Así que vamos a ver cómo esta gente sigue luchando y sigue echando para adelante a pesar de estar en el imperio, dentro del imperio.
La calle nos da voz, rostro y nombre. Juntas y juntos, construyendo la comunicación desde nuestra América. Aquí habla el pueblo.
The prison industrial complex is a system situated at the intersection of government and private interests. It uses prisons as a solution to social, political, and economic problems. It includes human rights violations, the death penalty, slave labor, policing, courts, the media, political prisoners, and the elimination of dissent.
It's been said that our children are our future. Well, the people that I've been around, we believe it's a little different. We believe that we are our children's future, because if we don't make a change, our children aren't going to have a future. So we have to do something different.
The state of Pennsylvania is building 3 new prisons and expanding 9 others at a cost of $685 million at the same time as they're cutting the budgets for schools, for mental health services, for other social services. And so we're calling on the governor to cancel all the prison projects, to change sentencing and parole so that people are let out of prison and are not sent there in the first place, and also that that money that's going to the prison should be reinvested in our communities and things that make communities stronger instead of things that tear them apart. This is the office of Hury International, which is one of the companies that got the contract to build 2 of the prisons are being built in the same location, and Hury got a $315 million contract to build 2 new prisons, which includes a 100-bed death row. So we're here to tell Hury that
there has to be another way of addressing the overcrowdedness, right? So stopping people from going to jail, dealing with the parole, dealing with the sentencing practices that exist, and finally, community reinvestment. We believe that the monies that's being spent is probably the correct word, on building prisons can go to enhancing institutions, education, stable housing, and jobs.
What do we want? When do we want it? We're here specifically today in solidarity with the call put out in Oakland, inspired in many ways by Kevin Cooper. He's a prisoner on death row at San Quentin. And the call was for February 20th to be a National Occupy Day in support of prisoners. Or in other words, Occupy for prisoners. The reasons for this day of action are broad and far-reaching. And you know why? Because the number of prisons has grown wildly, at an average of 1 per week between the years of 1976 and 2000. And in calling for these things, today we're joined by actions happening in Oakland, where folks are occupying San Quentin, where male death row prisoners are housed, where Stanley Tukey Williams was executed, and where Kevin Cooper, an innocent man on death row, is currently being imprisoned. We're joined by folks in Boston, Chicago, Columbus, New York City. Also in Washington, D.C., where folks are protesting outside the city jail. They're highlighting newly planned visitation procedures that dehumanize even further the process of visiting incarcerated loved ones by using video teleconferencing systems in which contact only occurs through a TV screen. The city is spending millions on this system in a time when I know folks in D.C. expect other priorities from the city.
Invest in reentry. Not the penitentiary. Invest in reentry.
Not the penitentiary.
Invest in reentry.
Not the penitentiary.
He said, when I heard the call just raised in Oakland, California to occupy the prisons, I guess. It was not an especially radical call, but it was at the right time. For prisons have become a metaphor, a shady side, if you will, of America. With oceans of words about freedom and the reality that the U.S. is the world's leader of incarceration, it's more than time for the focus of attention of the Occupy movement. As a matter of fact, it's past time. For the U.S. is the world's largest imprisoner for decades, much wrought by the insidious effects of the so-called drug war, what I call the war on the poor. Every rural district, every hamlet in America has a prison, a place where the Constitution doesn't exist, and where slavery is all but legalized, and where there are prisons, there is torture, brutal beatings, grave humiliation, perverse censorship, and even murder, all under a legal system that is blind as the statue which holds aloft the scale, her eyes covered by a frigid fold of coffee. So, what is Occupy to do? It must support movements such as those calling for the freedom of Lakota brother Leonard Peltier, the Move veterans of August 8, 1978, the remaining two members of the Angola 3, and sisters who have spent lifetimes in steel and brick hellholes. But the Occupy movement must do even more. As it shifted the discussion and the paradigm on economic issues, it must turn the wheel of the so-called criminal justice system in America. That is, in fact, a destructive, counterproductive, and annual $69 billion boondoggle of repression, better known by activists as the prison industrial complex. And he ends with, down with the prison industrial complex.
Now all they giving you is a job. 19 cents an hour. We're building in jails now. They're making clothing, sold out here in the street. They're making furniture, but they're not giving us anything that's going to help us when we get back out here.
Governor Corbett is very much tied in with the people who are running for profit prisons. They're building 3 new prisons, 2 of them in Montgomery County, and some of them are going to be for profit. And you have to understand what a for-profit prison is. It means that the owner is going to make a profit on the labor of the prisoners. You know, so when they privatize, they're basically starting another form of slavery.
Educate, not incarcerate! Educate, not incarcerate!
Here in Pennsylvania, we have to understand that Pennsylvania incarcerates more juveniles. It gives them life sentences than any other state in the union. So for someone 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old to do something, any type of felony, and be tried as an adult, and receive adult time, 20 years. If they do not have education, their chance of being able to do anything with their life is slim and none. And that's exactly what Pennsylvania has been doing. Taking the money and the funding out of the education, putting it into the prison system, and making sure that our youth can do very little than what you see on the street.
Tear down the jailhouse! Tear down the jailhouse! Tear down the jailhouse!
The corporation behind us does not see the prisoners that will occupy its 300 million atrocity as human beings, but rather as human profit and capital, and therefore will not stick around to hear cries of brutality, humiliation, and injustice that will echo throughout its gleaming prison, ironically named SCI Phoenix. However, unlike the phoenix, the methodical bird that resurrects itself from its own ashes, the prison that the corporation will build in alliance with the morality bankrupt state government of Pennsylvania will stand as another massive warehouse of humans added to its current collection of human warehouses across the state that confines over 50,000 people today. People who have been reduced to numbers and statistics that are the raw capital in the unholy alliance between the state and corporations that defines the modern prison industry complex. It is our hope, however, that with its construction will come instead more radical prisoners, more prisoner activists, more prison writers who will help expose the injustice that goes on in these human warehouses. And it is our hope that more activists and protesters on the outside will turn out to continue protesting and exposing the injustice, brutality, and humiliation that occupies the construction of each new prison.
La calle nos da voz, rostro y nombre. Juntas y juntos, construyendo la comunicación desde nuestra América.
Aquí habla el pueblo.
Reporte en la calle apenas comienza, así que no te separes de la señal de Lara TV, televisora comunal.